Though I did find the live-action Little Mermaid to be underwhelming in many respects, it was much more worthwhile than its marketing campaign would lead you to believe. The trailers, advertisements, promos, and such absolutely did the film no favors, and unfortunately, due to the lackluster nature of most of the promotional materials being shown to the masses, it just added fuel to the already present fire that gross trolls created the moment a black person was cast as Ariel. There was inevitably going to be backlash because of that, as well as growing Disney live-action fatigue, so the fact that most people were not impressed with what they were seeing Disney put out regarding The Little Mermaid just really turned the whole conversation around the film sour. And therefore, the racist trolls felt validated to direct as much hatred towards the film as possible and just dogpile negativity on it in an attempt to make the movie fail when they really did not care about the quality of the product. They're just racist babies who don't want to see people of color exist in spaces they believe belong to them. I mean, even a large portion of people who were initially thrilled about Halle Bailey's casting lost enthusiasm when footage was released, so many did not feel compelled to or passionate enough to defend it against the hate campaign. Not much of the general public was confident in the product. And yes, I personally put the majority of the blame on director Rob Marshall due to his bland approach to the film that limited the fantasy and breathtaking show-stopping moments, but that still doesn't mean the film itself was outright poor in quality, as the trailers made it out to be. Okay, so what exactly was the problem with the marketing? Well, I put together a trailer that complements the film a lot more and plays into its strengths and charms and highlights Halle Bailey's excellence in the role of Ariel. So before I show you that, let's just take a moment to wipe our brains clean and pretend as if we haven't seen any footage from the film yet. Let's try to put ourselves in the mindset that we have no idea what the film looks like. Then pause this video, go watch the official trailer for the film that Disney put out and was everyone's first impression of the film, and finally come back to this video and watch the trailer that I made and compare how you think the general public would react to it instead of the actual one. The general public, not the Ben Shapiro cult members who will hate no matter what. Okay, here's my trailer.
Look at this. Whoa. It's the smallest trident I've ever seen. I wanna be where the people are. I wanna see them dancing, walking around on those, what do you call them? Oh, feet.
You went to the above world.
A man was drowning.
He's a human!
That doesn't make us enemies.
I can help you become a human yourself.
How can you help me?
Who's in here? Nobody usually comes in here. I could show you around, if you like.
There you are. I've been looking for you. Has Ariel killed the prince yet?
No, not killed, kissed, you bird brain.
Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world.
I swear I will get through to you!
Watching you'll see. Someday I'll be part of
So, I don't know about you, but I think that trailer really looks significantly more appealing and charming and magical, which were elements that were greatly missing from the official trailer. The official trailer that Disney released was so dull and bland and used some of the wonkiest CGI in the whole film, and I'm not saying the actual final film doesn't have its fair share of really bad CGI, because it certainly does. But the marketing department surely could have highlighted the more appealing technological moments. And as I said before, the film itself is much blander and less fantastical than it should have been, but the marketing still doesn't complement the film for what it is. However, the most prominent failure in the marketing is how they did not showcase Halle Bailey's Ariel in the most flattering light, which was the most essential thing to do, considering how much was already stacked up against her. I've talked in other videos about how the film's creative team, especially director Rob Marshall, did not fully support Halle in coming across as best as possible and shining to the ultimate degree, and they really needed to deliver upon the vision of Halle Bailey as Ariel, because she is so perfect in the role, and nobody could have embodied the character like her, but she did all the work on her own. The filmmakers did the bare minimum to complement her, which resulted in their missteps being taken out on her. She was by far the strongest element of the film, and while the creative team didn't fully take advantage of the gloriousness of having Halle Bailey as Ariel, the marketing team used the most unflattering material to promote the movie. They were consistently setting her up. All the screen caps from the trailers and stills released to the public and used for social media and news outlets absolutely did not paint her in the best light, and needlessly opened the floodgates for more hatred when it would have been much smoother sailing to release images and footage where her Ariel is shining through. Don't set her up. Give people as little reason as possible to have something negative to say. Get as many people on her side as possible. Deliver material that will shut as many haters up as possible. And though there are vocal haters who won't shut up no matter what, don't give them fuel. Find every opportunity to minimize their presence and influence. There will be hate no matter what, but do not give them easy fuel. And I've also seen plenty of people who exist in a gray area and they simply just have no imagination and can't envision a black person as Ariel but would accept her if they could. So, like, show them the vision. These images from the film, it's not like there would be no hate, but they should have been the ones that were front and center and featured alongside all the news articles, social media posts, etc., etc. One thing that may seem petty, but believe me, it was detrimental, especially for those in the visionless community, as well as people who were on the fence and ambivalent, was that most of the footage from the trailers and promos consisted of moments where Ariel's hair looks dull and brownish, which kinda is a big deal because the character's most universally distinguishable trait that is unique to her is vibrant hair. I've clocked a large portion of the general public who haven't seen the film and aren't even aware that she's still a redhead. They think her hair is brown, and like, of course that's not going to sit right with people, and of course that is going to give more people reason to point to her and say that's not Ariel and blame it on the actress when she's not the reason people aren't recognizing her as Ariel. It's the fact that the character's most distinctive visual identifier is absent, which just contributes to more unnecessary negativity. And while I do think that Rob Marshall and the creative department should have went with a deeper, more vibrant shade of red, in the actual film, it's unmistakably red, and there are moments where it is incredibly vibrant. So yeah, I wish it was more consistent in tone throughout the film, but it was such a poor decision on the marketing department's part to primarily use footage and images where it's muted, mousy, and brownish, because that's what's gonna be circulating, and that's what people's preconceived impressions are going to be. And those are the types of decisions that may seem small, but When you're dealing with existing iconography, it impacts whether or not people even have a desire to see the film if you're not delivering upon expectations. So, let's talk about box office. Despite what the go woke, go broke crowd is trying to lead people to believe, the film is not a flop, it's not a financial failure, and it was profitable, and it will continue to be profitable as it grows in popularity on streaming, as Disney movies tend to do. However, the previous live action adaptations were consistently joining the billion-dollar club, especially the ones that were adapting films from the Renaissance era, so why did The Little Mermaid fall so short of $1 billion? Well, I believe there are many factors, including Disney live action fatigue, but I have a more streamlined idea of what happened. Do I think it didn't hit $1 billion solely because Ariel was black? Absolutely not. I very much think there's a world where a black-led Little Mermaid makes well over $1 billion. That doesn't mean racism wasn't a factor, which I'll get to, but the core problem was simply that the film just didn't look good to general audiences. Wonky CGI, dark, dull imagery, very little fantasy, a small scope, and an Ariel without vibrant hair. It was just not feeding people's expectations. It was not living up to their imaginations. And even the people who had shown excitement over the casting quickly switched to the I'll wait for streaming mindset. Like I said, Rob Marshall's directorial approach is the main culprit because it's the material from his film the marketing team had to work with, but the marketing team still had the opportunity to highlight the strongest elements of Rob Marshall's approach, which they didn't do, so that turned casual moviegoers off. And this is where the racism comes into play in interfering with the box office. Since so much of the film's marketing material was weak and easy to target, the trolls were able to double down on projecting hatred and negativity, and many were able to use seemingly valid scapegoats to fall behind. They were able to jump onto and amplify any criticisms against the film from anyone. They could contribute to the complaints that even non-racist people were expressing and do so without being detected as a racist, sometimes, hiding behind the false notion of constructive criticism. So, yeah, since the film looked underwhelming to the general public, the trolls were able to amplify their negativity and gained plenty of fuel for their hate campaigns, which made the overall conversation around the film become almost universally negative and ultimately affected the box office. If the film had actually initially looked appealing to audiences, I believe the narrative would have unfolded a lot differently. I think it's important to address this and put the blame on the ones who are actually responsible for any lackluster results with this film, whether that be the filmmakers or the marketing team, because otherwise the blame would unjustly be put on Halle Bailey's shoulders, or quote-unquote wokeness. That's just not right. There's absolutely an alternative world where a live-action Little Mermaid starring Halle Bailey reached the $1 billion club. Maybe it was the same exact film and had just been marketed better, or maybe it was made by a completely different creative team and looked incredible in every single shot. I don't know, but I just hope Halle Bailey gets the opportunity to play Ariel again in another film, because she deserves to shine to the fullest degree. And before I go, I just want to say, while you could read Disney's lack of defending and supporting Halle against the backlash as them not wanting to give trolls the time of day or them wanting Halle's performance to speak for itself, but they really should have been more vocally supportive of her. And look, the unfortunate truth is a lot of the public is really stupid and has no imagination and can't think for themselves and have no cultural context. So Disney really needed to emphasize why they cast her as Ariel and why anyone could be Ariel, why the shade of Ariel's skin doesn't matter, and not leave it up to the internet to debate. Like, yes, to hell with the trolls, leave them to their own devices, don't try to appeal to them. However, this could have been a much smoother marketing campaign. They really just set her up, set the film up, and shot themselves in the foot, and it blew out of proportion in a way that I don't think they expected. But yeah, if you're still here, I love you. If you're not, that's cool too. If you don't support Hallie as Ariel, I don't love you. And you should never speak again.